Hey guys, this is Shivam here, and as we have been talking a lot about prompt engineering and LLMs for last few weeks, and for today episode we have a really special guest, Kush Gandhi. I have been connected with Kush on the LinkedIn. I have been following him for a quite while. I love his post on prompt engineering, LLMs, and I would request you to follow him on the LinkedIn as well to get more trending post and everything from Kush. So let's not wait anymore and let's hear more about Kush from the man himself. So Kush, over to you. Please let us know a quick intro about yourself.
Hi Shivam, hi everyone. So I'm Kush and I have been in the AI field for about 2 to 3 years now. So I think it, my curiosity towards AI has come from understanding different programs, or in fact even different machines that work on their own. So that is where I have the curiosity for. Uh, it is very fascinating to me to understand how different machines can learn and do certain tasks on their own. So, if previously, I think I've always tried to explore deeper and newer areas in AI. So, initially, I began with joining few clubs in my college, that was SRM. Over there, I got involved in 2 or 3 clubs, and I tried to understand how development side of AI works, and along with that, I was able to deep dive into how does research work, because I think everyone understands that AI is a field where it is not. Uh, it is not oriented towards one particular use case. So AI can be implemented in a lot of fields, and it molds around like that. So research is a very integral part of the field itself. So that gave me a lot of interest into understanding how even smaller and tiny facts about AI, how all the models work, how the architecture works, and how different things are designed. So I took part in two of the research internships. One was my tax research internship, where I was able to go to University of Toronto and work with the faculty over there on a research project. And back here in college, I was also able to work on a research internship with Samsung. And yeah, after that, I was able to do a couple of internships in the industry as well. So first, I did an internship with All Things Connected. Over there, I was able to understand and research how natural language processing and other parts of voice related uh, AI was working. And I think after that, when I joined Listed as well, so I was given multiple different tasks. So I was able to work with complex models like transformers and LLMs. Yeah, I think that has been my journey through AI.
That's really great actually. And as you have rightly mentioned that AI is more about research rather than a typical development. We totally agree with you on that. So, Kush, so currently, as you mentioned, you have been working recently, like you recently started working on LLMs. So, what
Yeah.
kind of AI or LLM projects are you working right now that you would like to share with us?
So yeah, I think LM fundamentally has changed how we are able to look at and work with problems. So in with LLMs, some of the tough tasks initially, if I had to look at NLP problems like converting or translating different languages, different low resource languages, it was practically impossible previously without any data to translate that. So that was one of the uh, big projects I had taken up with the help of LLMs. And other than that, I think LLM has helped us quite easily scale different problems and understand how certain models will behave and how certain output can be generated to create a product. So we were able to work with LLMs and compare between different LLMs. I think that also has been one big task I had been focusing on. Compare between LLMs, how different LLMs perform on different tasks. So
So,
yeah,
what kind of task have you tested? As you mentioned, you have uh, like mainly the project is around performing the like evaluating the performance of various LLMs for various use cases. So,
correct,
what are
correct.
those key use cases that you have tried different LLMs that you would like to share?
Yeah, uh, so I think LLMs give us a great idea into how style transfer can work in a textual context. Like if we want to ask some, if we want, if you look at mimicry artists, they try to mimic certain parts of your voice. Similarly, some people have a uh, style of speaking. They use certain words. For example, if you look at Amitabh Bachchan or you look at Shah Rukh Khan, there are certain key phrases you identify that this person uses them a lot. So, uh, trying out LLMs to replicate them and creating a product that will be more intuitive or more interesting for the user.
Hmm.
Though those kinds of products have been a big part of this LLM journey.
Okay, so you are currently adding this kind of LLM feature. You are working on it to add it to listed.
Uh, yeah, actually, I had previously mentioned in the email as well. Currently, I'm not part of Listed. I used to be part of Listed.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So what projects are you working on? Then not listed. If like any other company you are working on, or currently you are only focusing on like open source AI research projects or anything.
Yeah, currently I've just been trying to understand how AI-based SaaS products are working,
Okay,
and I've been trying to understand in that field how uh, different LLMs can be used for not only LLMs, different models can be used to create small to mid-sized products that can be easily scaled from an MVP to product that can be taken to production.
great, great. So mostly in this generative AI space, there are two buzzwords that we often hear into the community. One is
Mhm.
prompt engineering, and another is fine tuning LLMs. So if I
Correct.
ask you to choose one that has worked for you to get higher, like to get quality output, or that has worked into your any other project, or that you think would work, prompt engineering
Mm,
versus fine tuning LLM.
okay, I think that's a tough choice.
Yeah, that,
Uh,
that is yeah, definitely that's the tough question.
Yeah, yeah. So I think if we even in LLM, I think we can classify LLMs into different categories.
Yep.
So, for example, if it's some open source LLM which is not completely fine tuned, for example, even Llama 2,
Yep.
although the outputs are amazing,
Mm,
but if you ask it to format certain output in a certain way, like if you say, I want only one sentence,
mm,
there are usually instances where it will fail. So no matter how much you try to prompt engineer over there,
mm,
the model will try to prefer to certain kinds of output or certain kind of phrases. It has a bias, uh, or rather it is used to doing things like that.
mm.
So in those cases it's probably necessary to fine tune it to or for a downstream task. But if we take the case for GPT, most probably, a lot of times good prompt engineering is takes you way farther than fine tuning because that has been trained over such amazing data.
Okay. So eventually, I think since Llama 2 will also like be matured, so prompt engineering wins over fine tuning LLM according to you.
Uh, I think so. Yeah, I think definitely in future LLMs will be easier to use, and AI researchers are totally working towards that. So there'll be many instances where only prompt engineering would do the work.
Okay, since you have mentioned the phrase LLMs will be more easier to use in future, so let's discuss the present. So, what are the key challenges you are facing? Even if you want to use some LLM feature, so what are the key challenges you are facing? Let's say in doing prompt engineering. Let's first discuss that. Then we will come to fine tuning LLM. So, what are the key challenges you are facing in prompt engineering?
Yeah, so I think one key issue for me through prompt engineering was that when you ask a LLM model to do a certain specific task, like for example, if you want to generate a certain kind of style transferred text from LLM, then a lot of times what's happening if you iterate it over 100 times. So I'm like, for this experiment, I would say I am taking GPT 3.5 into reference. I'm sure GPT-4 is far more stronger and far more easier to work with. But I think this gives us a general idea how these models work.
Okay.
So while iterating over 100 times about these tasks, one key observation for me has been that the consistency of them drops certain times.
Okay.
So they are not able to keep up with that accurate demand. If you have five rules you're asking it to follow in a certain style, so usually what used to happen is that it would stick to two or three rules which it feels easier to understand, and over iterations of 100 times it will sometimes implement all the five rules, or sometimes it will only end up it will only end up giving four rules or three rules. But
Acha,
although,
when
sorry,
when you
yeah, go
say
ahead.
100 iterations, so you mean for a similar input you are running 100 different prompts on the same model.
uh, no, the same prompt, same input, but running it over 100 times.
Okay, so you are running same thing 100 times, and even then you are seeing the differences.
Yeah, yeah.
That's huge challenge. And do you also feel like if we change the prompt, or let's say for a single input, if you are changing the prompt to find which prompt is working good, do you do that also, or like you just run it same prompt the 100 times?
No, I do change the prompt and see if there is any improvement. So, for example, like previously where I was working on a translating a low resource language through GPT. So I think while translating, one of the key factors for us is that accuracy. The accuracy should be maintained, and the sentence should mean the same way, although it is translated. So during that, the sentence input remains same, and I experiment with a lot of prompts. But then once I
Any number you would like to put on that, like 100, 50?
experimenting with prompts,
Yeah.
I worked on that for a long time. So I think around 30 to 40 prompts I would have at least experimented with. These were
Okay,
the,
for a single input.
yeah, 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 definitely.
And how many inputs were there?
Uh, it was over a period of time. I think I've experimented with over 10,000, 20,000 words at least.
10,000, 24 words, not different inputs.
They like combining all the different inputs.
Okay. When 10,000, 20,000 inputs, that's huge.
10,000, 20,000 words. So I think we can break them down into 1,000 different inputs.
Oh, that's huge. Then 1,000 inputs, even if you are running like 40 to 50 prompts on a single input, then that is like 50,000 output you are generating and compare.
Yeah, yeah.
How
So
did you do that? Like, because lots of people asked it, like that was the key challenge, like how to compare the quality of this output, especially the quality if the outputs are in this thousands as you mentioned. How did you do that?
Yeah, I think for a low resource language, there was no metric as such to
Okay.
compare.
Okay.
So usually for a lot of these languages, there is, a very true form of the language, Shuddh
Okay.
Hindi, for example. But
Okay.
then if you want to have a colloquial form of the language, then it is a rather tedious task to understand and manually check if you're happy with the output or not.
Yeah, definitely. And how did you document all those things? Because maintaining 50,000 output, even if you are just running on GPT 3.5, you also need to run it on GPT 4 to see how it is working, if I'm getting it correctly. You can also do it on Bard.
Yeah, yeah. I think overall, first, we what my procedure used to be
Yeah.
is that I have identified certain. I would have 4 to 5 big inputs
Hmm.
where I'm able to extract a paragraph. This is the kind of ideal input I have, and I will try to translate that through multiple models.
Hmm.
So once I translate it with multiple models, then I will identify which are the sentences that are failing and which models are not able to keep up with those sentences. So that way it helped me narrow down, which sentences are tricky for models, and at the same time which models are performing better.
And for how much month have you worked on this particular project?
I think about 2 months or more.
Oh, 2 months. That's it. So for 2 months, how you're maintaining this? How you were documenting all these experiments, input prompts, output prompts? Since you have been working 2 months to eventually found the best combination that is working. So how you were documenting everything so that you can discuss with the other team members or managers you have.
Yeah, I think I was also learning through the process. I did not expect these many prompts to be part of the project itself. So
Yeah.
initially there was a lot of confusion, I will not
Okay.
lie.
Okay.
So after that I started maintaining a Google Sheet once I was able to narrow down the model, narrow down the input, and when it was only a iterative prompt engineering to identify uh, how the how the output was improving,
Hmm.
and I think certain post processing was also required. So all those steps were documented, but the initial experiments were not documented because it was huge in number, and they did not give us a lot of valuable information as well.
Totally got it. Because actually, these are the fears that other, you can say, prompt engineering enthusiasts have, and they ask all these questions actually. So we
Correct,
wanted to know
correct. Yeah.
how people are doing it. Okay, great. And like again, comparing the output, since as you mentioned, you didn't had any kind of KPI, so you were manually reading it. So, what do you
Hmm.
think if you would have done more prompts, like you would have run more prompt, did more engineering instead of 2 months, you would have did it for 4 months. Then, did it have changed the quality of the output? Would have it made better?
I mean, it would have been in the mercy of GPT-3 or OpenAI makers,
Okay.
uh, because it was something which the model was continuously being inconsistent after a point.
Okay.
So the final solution would have been trying to have a text transfer, like there are models like T5 or a certain open source GPT which is trained on our particular data, our particular style for
Yep. Yep.
translating.
Yep.
So that would have been the final uh, goal. That would, because anyway, with GPT, I think it did 90% of the heavy lifting. You
Hmm.
were able to get something that was close to what you want, but to have a 100% output which is human readable and acceptable, for
Hmm.
that for consistent outputs, I would not have chosen using GPT for a longer duration. So probably would not have invested more time in prompt engineering at that point.
Okay. Also, like, did you test it other models also, like other LLMs providers like Bard, Llama, apart from
Yeah,
OpenAI? And even I think OpenAI have somewhere around 80 models.
I think for OpenAI text-based models, only GPT 3.5 Turbo and GPT 4 are the best ones.
Hmm.
So uh, that was it for testing in OpenAI's spectrum. But then we also tested with Bard. We tried Llama 2. We tried other variations of trained Llama and Llama 2. We tried Falcon and couple of other LLMs which were making the open source LLM race top charts.
Hmm.
So we tried all those, but overall in practice, GPT is the easiest and the fastest, also the more accurate.
Got it, got it. Acha, one of the key challenges that we have seen people talking about is that, let's say you have built something over 2 to 3 months of a period after doing prompt engineering, fine tuning of LMs and everything, and then
Hmm.
you launch it in production, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Then your users are using your product or LLM feature. Now the real challenge come, like how do you make sure that whatever the output is being generated, that is as far at the same quality that you have experimented, like how to make sure that users are getting the consistent high quality in the production, any particular way to do
Mm,
that?
I think, like, in my personal opinion, as long as if we are using LLM, for example, if we are using
Hmm.
GPT 3.5, which is hosted on OpenAI server, whenever we open their website and use Chat GPT, you can see that this model was updated at this time or this
Hmm.
day. So they keep on updating the model, and it is very difficult for us to even guarantee certain quality for our project, because if that changes, the output can always change whenever the model gets updated. The
Definitely.
weights change, the model's training might have changed, and
You need to experiment with prompts again.
exactly. So having a offline LLM, or LLM is not necessary for certain tasks. You can train a smaller model to do the exact same task, which is only limited and focused on your downstream task. But then if LLM is also required, you can have an offline LLM, and you could probably maintain that on your own servers,
Hmm.
although initially the cost might be difficult to bear. So
Hmm.
that is when GPT will help. But then if there is a product that has to go a long way, then your own model will give you a lot of hands-on control over the quality for the product.
Definitely, definitely. Acha, like let's say, what do you think? Like, how much is it is important to measure the quality in production? Like, what your users are seeing, what they are inputting, what they are getting as output. How important it is to measure that?
I think that is very important, because as a developer, so I was also working on this product for uh, creating Instagram captions.
Hmm.
So I think there, my most important part of the project is that trying to get input from different team members or different users who are probably not technical as well.
Hmm.
So there might be certain things that might be acceptable to me, or
Hmm.
there might be certain things that I might not have thought as a developer, because my goal would be that if there is an image and if there is a caption that is relevant to the image, then I would be happy.
Hmm.
But when I spoke to different users, so what they wanted was that, if there is an image for what do we say, mountains. So
Hmm.
I think at a research level, at a AI level, people have solved it by simply captioning the image as a picture of mountains.
Hmm.
People would have been happy with that.
Hmm.
But then that is not something you would put on Instagram, no. So
Yep. Yep.
uh, that kind of perspective, because the end goal is the user, there are a lot of things you miss out on as a developer if you're not engaging with your users and trying to understand what is the exact thing they want.
Hmm.
Yeah.
And is there any way to do to measure that one apart from like connecting one to one with the users? If you want to measure it, any particular framework or any KPIs that you are aware of or that you can suggest to our audience?
Mm, I'm not really aware of any framework or KPI. Yeah.
Actually, we have asked these questions to lots of people, and we
Okay.
found
Okay.
that everybody thinks it is important, but we don't have any way to do that actually.
Yeah, I think it this problem usually comes in light to developers once they've built the product. So
Yeah.
not a lot of people have put in testing for that, and I think it's the best way, to discuss it with other users directly, maybe through a form or some method which helps you reach out many people. But then I don't think there is any
What
framework.
about thumbs
Yeah.
up and thumbs down that ChatGPT loves?
Yeah, reinforcing our output will also be good actually. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So moving towards the end of our podcast. So what should we do? Like what should we do to be remain updated regarding new trends in prompt engineering? Any
Uh,
channels, groups that you would like us to follow, you would suggest us to follow or our audience?
I think I what I usually do is that there is this towards data science page on Medium, and there are other Medium pages. I have subscribed to them, and there is this YouTube channel called 2 Minute Research Paper.
Oh, great.
So what he does is that he keeps talking about different research and different new AI updates that happen on a weekly basis. So I really love that. And other than that, I think mm there are a few other podcasts. Let me just recall the name. There is this podcast called Data Skeptic. Yeah, I think these are the main things I follow and try to understand how the software is, how the AI world is moving ahead.
Great, great. Definitely would recommend this to our audience to follow this. Like mostly we also follow different podcasts on YouTube, mediums, some Slack
Yeah,
channels
yeah.
and Reddit subreddits are also there. So
Yes, yes.
Acha, what do you think? What can like all the people today want to become a prompt engineering expert? So, as per you, who is exactly like how do you define this prompt engineering expert? Because everybody wants to become that. So,
I think anyone, in their particular fields who are doing their normal jobs,
hmm,
but they want to automate or simplify their job with AI input output,
hmm,
uh, they will be, uh, you know, everyone can simply understand how to mold their inputs to get a certain kind of outputs
hmm,
these days because of ChatGPT.
hmm,
So yeah, so anyone who wants to do that will be highly motivated to become a prompt engineer. But hopefully, prompt engineering becomes a part of our day-to-day jobs,
hmm,
and I think everyone will soon become skilled enough to be able to harness that.
great, great. And what do you think? What is the future of LLM or generative AI according to you?
Oh, it's going to burst the market. It's
Definitely. So, in what
yeah.
ways actually?
Yeah, so I think even generative AI, people have hurried into consumer-based products. If you see right now, until 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, generative AI was not even able to produce text properly. It was able to generate certain images depending on prompt, but if there is a base image and then it has certain kind of text, it was really hard for it to mimic. For now, other challenges with generative AI have been the consistency about facts. So if you talk about text, so in LLMs, factual correctness of data is always something even Google has not been able to solve that problem for now. So the everyone asks you to be aware that it might hallucinate and it might tell you wrong answers. So you have to be aware. So that is going to improve. And again, in generative AI, a lot of things have been about image processing only for now. So uh, once the models become more efficient, and once the model become more consistent, then they will also be able to generate videos with generative AI, and I think that will just change how we perceive world and how everything happens digitally.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Okay, Chris. I think that's all for now. Thanks a lot for joining today. I think we have got lots of key details. We have got lots of new things today, and
Yeah.
thanks a lot for sharing your journey, your experiences, and definitely the solutions that we have mentioned
Thank you. Thank
that
you.
would help each and everybody in the AI community a lot.
Yeah, I'm really glad to be here.
Me too. Me too.
So, guys, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't done it yet to stay updated on emerging prompt engineering and LLM trends. Also, we'd love to hear your thoughts, so leave your questions in the comment section that you want us to discuss in our next podcast episode. And remember to share this podcast with anyone who might find it helpful. Stay tuned for more engaging conversations next week. Bye bye.